What's going on there, YouTube? It's your boy King Gabe here coming at you once again. This time we got another update on Yumeko, a bit of a double feature this time, because just as I have completed issue 9 rough draft, I've also completed issue 10 rough draft within the time span, between now and the last Yumeko update video. So, yeah. Compared to my other rough drafts that I've written up, these two actually took the least amount of time because of what's in them, and also being that it's that we've gotten to the 10th one, that the issue 10 rough draft is now the conclusion of not the Yumeko series, but the first story arc for Yumeko. Oh yeah. So because of that, that means that I'm gonna go back, and of course I gotta get it, make sure, it's like proof, it's grammar and all that, and also make sure everything's in place that I want, double checking and everything, and then of course illustrating it. And while I'm doing said illustrations, I'll be little by little, I'll be getting Star Striker 2000's rough drafts up. So, yep, we are. Yep, so it's gonna be going back and forth between the two, story arc by story arc, as well as also in terms of time, like what's going. Because for one thing, Yumeko, with it being in this other world, see, things are going on in the supposed real world. And that's where Star Striker 2000 takes place in. You get to see a lot of what goes on there while the stuff is happening in Yumeko. And one thing I do have planned is eventually that the two series will somehow simultaneously meet up into each other into a different series called Dream League series. So, yep, sort of like the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series. Then eventually you get the Justice League animated series. Of course, you also had the inclusion of Batman Beyond and Static Shock. But technically speaking, yeah, you could say that Batman and Superman led into the events of Justice League, especially the end of Superman series. And Static Shock sort of took place kind of alongside the ending of those two series leading into Justice League series. If you really want to, debunk the timeline, and of course we all know Batman Beyond was like in the future past all of that. So, yeah, pretty much how that goes. And then of course you also have the Zeta Project and everything. So, yeah, pretty much got that going. So let's go into this, as Link Horror say about his comic books. Let's dig into issue 9. Okay. So with issue 9, it's titled Mountain Challenges Begin. Yeah. So basically, you in the last kind of recap, issue 8 that was rewritten recently and also discussed, there was a bit of a romance towards the end of the issue, kind of throughout the whole issue leading into this one with Hiko and Naomi. As noticed in issue 7, they were starting to get kind of close to each other. Issue 8 really built more on that with the dream sequence and then Punibion, of course, or as my sister Casey would call him, Punibion. Yeah, Punibion is. That was the thing, because she was thinking of Digimon when she read through the rough drafts, and yeah, she really despises that character, although he is the villain, so what'd you expect? So, of course you're supposed to despise him. So, anyway, Punibion had interrupted the date and everything, and Hiko and Naomi ended up in this little cave, which we find out here in issue 9 is actually his lair that was hidden in the mountains of the forest. And Naomi's power was unlocked. Hiko was all like, "Oh my god, you did it! Oh my goodness, you with it!" And that's where he got his first kiss from Naomi. Ooh. So then, with issue 9, we pick up right where Naomi is kissing Hiko. But we go from a different point of view. Punibion, Punibion, but I'm gonna say Punibion for Casey. Punibion is watching them like, oh my, we gotta have more of those stupid love moments. How gross. I saw enough of that in that dream. Time to break it up before they ring the wedding bells. So he said he has a hologram of himself come and tells Naomi, Hiko and Naomi, that they're in his lair and everything, and apparently he's also captured their friends along with Brownie. They captured Brownie and all their friends and everything from the hospital. Remember, one thing Punibion stated at the end of issue 7 is that in the morning he was going to be coming for them, and he has. He's got Hiko and Naomi here, and everybody else in sort of this deep sleep, as he describes it. He sort of used his magic after he snuck in the hospital, amplifying the nitrous oxide, the stuff they use, at the hospital when, like if you go into surgery or something, they have to knock you out. So he increased that and, pretty much put them into a deep sleep with a little mix of magic and brought them to his cave, brought them all to his cave. Hiko and Naomi to the cave. Everybody else is sleeping in the void. And one thing he tells Hiko and Naomi is that all they have to do if they want to get everybody back is they have to beat his challenges here in the cave, sort of like the bears that came in issue 8. And if they win, they'll be free to go. But if not, he'll feed everybody to the beast known as Yandan. So have fun. So, of course, Yandan is actually based off of a monster in an old video game that I played, Star Tropics 2. They called him Yum Yum. And big difference. I'm not sure what Yum Yum was supposed to be, what kind of creature Yum Yum was supposed to be. He looks sort of like a dinosaur of some kind, mixed with an alligator. So with Yandan, I sort of made him a cross between a T-Rex and a buffalo, and made him gold color. So Hiko and Naomi, they Hiko kind of reassures Naomi that they can do this by working together. One of the things that he brings up for motivation is he mentions about the book of Numbers, chapter 14, 6 through 9 from the Bible, referring to Caleb and Joshua. Those of you who probably, any of y'all that don't know about that, this was a story in the book of Numbers in the Bible where they was one person from each of the 12 tribes of Israel was supposed to go spy out the promised land that Israel was supposed to get. And when they came back to report what they had found, 10 of the tribe members were like, yeah, we see the milk and honey, but they got giants over there. Man, them guys scary. The giants, we like little fleas to them. We can't win. But Caleb and Joshua were like, no, we can take them. We can take them. We got God on our side. We can take them. Which, he was trying to tell Israel not to be afraid of, but Israel took the word of the other 10 over the 2. Sort of the majority rules kind of thing. As Jesus say, why do you doubt? But in this case, they're going by the advice, they're going by you know, how Josh and Caleb did. Um, Naomi does have does is concerned, like, what if we lose control of ourselves? Sort of like what happened to her in issue 7 with the overtraining, and you know, she sort of got so into it that she ended up exhausting herself. And in Hiko's case, the hyperactivity being kind of what made him lose control of himself until, you know, Julie kind of helped him out, like, you know, you can control yourself without your medication there. So there was that. So one thing, so Hiko reassures Naomi about, you know, that, how, you know, about not only the Caleb and Josh thing, but also what Julie has told them in their training. And also, another thing to sort of add to the mix is, if they focus on, you know, helping each other, they should be able to stay in control, just like they protected each other from the bears. Yeah, so Naomi then, like, okay, well then let's do this. So the two of them go, and the next room you got one of the next challenges, you got a bunch of ice monsters, which are some creatures that you will also see in another issue in the second arc, involving Brownie. Yeah, the ice monsters. More on that when we get to that arc, which probably be a little while, because like I say, right, you know, after while now that I got up to the first story arc completed, yeah, I'm gonna be, you know, illustrating, and as far as writing is concerned, I'm gonna be doing Star Trek 2000. So yeah, yeah, it'll be a while before I come back to do the second arc of Yumeko. Yeah, so be back and forth. So one thing, so Naomi quickly goes in, not fully aware of what these monsters are, that these monsters are ice type, and she concentrates on the water and the air into a glacier, into a spear-shaped glacier. She called it Glacier Spear Smash. This was actually an attack from another book I had wrote, that Zayden used in another book from back in like 20, I want to say 2014 or something like that. But she tries to use that to knock these monsters to pieces, which she does. But they start reforming, though, because, well, ice. Yeah. Hiko mentions that the ice monsters were some monsters that Brownie had fought in order to save the Mercurian princess, and they're gonna need fire to beat them. Yep. So let's say, well, how will we get fire as cold as it is in here? Suddenly, the herd of golden buffalo charges in, so Hiko decides to use this to the advantage. He focuses on some of the rocks nearby, causing a rocky barrage, which ends up knocking the buffaloes, knocking them down a bit, and they get up really angry. Then he tells Naomi to use another glacier spear smash, and then fire that as well as the monsters at the buffaloes on his signal. So so what he does, just as she forms the glacier, he fires it at the ice monster to smash them to pieces again, and quickly Hiko uses his magic to raise the body heat of the buffaloes extremely high until they burst into flames. Then he signals Naomi to take all the broken ice monsters and the glacier spearsmen and form them in an icicle assault towards the fire, where the fire instantly melts all the ice. So that's a pretty good little combo there, combo team up. So now after that they go through more multiple enemies, more, you know, buffaloes, devil bears, zombies, from like the ones in the abandoned store. And eventually they get to an empty room marked with a star, a diamond, and an X. And this is sort of like a little puzzle thing. They got to go through a certain one. And this was a thing in Star Tropics, had a room with different. He had all these doors with different shapes, and you had to go in it in a certain order. Otherwise, you have to instantly start over the game. So anyway, so they go. Turns out Naomi sees her fox Aurora that she mentioned way back in issue 2, I think it was. Said, "Where is Aurora?" And that was, and we never did hear anything on that. So now we're about to find out who this Aurora is. Aurora is is what she calls her night fox, and the Aurora, Naomi's the only one that can see her at this point. So she sees Aurora going through the star room, and Naomi tells Hiko to over here, and Hiko follows Naomi, who is following Aurora through the different rooms, where they eventually get to Yandan and spot him eating some golden buffaloes. So Hiko whispers to Naomi, let's take him out quickly while he's eating, before he finishes eating for combo attack. And both of the the thing with Hiko's magic thing is to focus it on something. He can do like magic blast, stuff like that, sort of like how Wanda did in the MCU. He can do that, but there's one thing, as was pointed out with Thor. Even though he can do like lightning blast, stuff like that, the hammer was not the source of his power. It was something to help him focus his power and control it. It's sort of the same with Hiko. Focusing in different items and stuff like that, or on a particular force or something like that, it kind of helps with the focus of his magic. So he focuses it into. So for this time, he focuses into Naomi's ice attack, which allows them to form the Blizzard Twister. It freezes Yandan and also since it's a twister, sends him up to the roof of the cave. However, Paper Eater and Space Bite come in, firing fireballs and lightning blasts all over the place. And then Punibion and the Monster Turtle shows up, and they all gather together. It's like, Punibion's like, well, if it isn't the lovebirds have arrived. What an unexpected surprise. And by unexpected, I mean completely expected. Welcome to the final challenge. That unexpected, by expected I mean completely expected, it was sort of a little thing from Doofusburg in Phineas and Ferb, when the first episode when Perry the Platypus, what an unexpected surprise. And by unexpected, I mean completely expected. Or one other one when he say, Perry the Platypus, your timing is uncanny. And by uncanny, I mean completely canny. So, from that, so now issue 10, Magical Discoveries. Punibion says, all right, my mechanical trio, attack! So Monster Turtle leads with the attack. He tries to smash Hiko and Naomi, but they dodge. Paper Eater, Space Bite, launching their fireballs and lightning blast. Hiko combines the fire and lightning into an attack called Pyro Shocker, and blasted at the Monster Turtle, knocking him into the wall. And then he also does it again into a different attack, Inferno Shockbird. This time, Shockbind, sorry. This time turning the blast into some whips to tie up a Monster Turtle, Paper Eater, and Space Bite. And Naomi asks about, do we finish them now? Hiko mentions that he's going to try to take control of the machines like he wanted to do back in issue 6, but wasn't so successful with. So he's going to try this again. Punibion's like, oh no, you don't. And tries to stop Hiko like he did before. But Naomi is like, oh no, yes he does. And uses her howling blizzard to blow Punibion back, causing him to release Hiko. And next minute, Yandan lands on Punibion, or Punibion. Hiko begins to magically tamper with Paper Eater and Space Bite system, and the monster turtle tries to charge at Hiko, but Naomi blocks him as well with a hurricane freeze. And just when you think it's not gonna work, it actually ends up working. Hiko manages to have full control over Paper Eater and Space Bite, and has them attack the monster turtle, enhanced by his magic, of course. And their attacks shut the turtle system down. So Punibion comes away from under Yandan pretty angry, and he just shuts down Paper Eater and Space Bite, and even shrinks them down to the size of kids' meal toys, which is one reason why. So, one reason why when they show up again in the series, they'll be this size. Yeah. So they actually started off being bigger in the series, but Punibion shrunk them down when he shut them down. So they will get reactivated in the series, and be able to help Hiko and his friends out, but they'll be at that size though, unless there's some kind of way that they make it where like they can grow back to normal size when it's necessary, and then maybe revert back, sort of do like maybe Ant-Man and Wasp, how they can shrink and grow kind of thing. I got to think a little more on that though. So we'll let you know when we get to that. But for right now, they've been shrunken to kid meal toy, or as we would know, Happy Meal toys. So Punibion then Punibion has Yandan to come at Hiko and Naomi, and just when you think it's all over, Hiko gets an idea. In this now, remember I mentioned about the whole magic blast with Wanda and the lightning blast with Thor. Hiko manages to magically cause a herd of buffaloes to come charging at Yandan and Punibion, or Punibion. Yandan sees those buffaloes and like, dinner, and rushes over to go eat the buffalo, wanting to eat them. Punibion tries to grab him, use a magic field to grab his tail, but he's like, no, you idiot, it's a trap. Yandan ain't listening. So the minute this distraction occurs, Hiko and Naomi get up, and they join their hands together. Here we go. Double blizzard blast. Sort of make me think of Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl in Yu-Gi-Oh! Bonds Beyond Time, when it's like, when he say, I played this to add the attack point total of Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. It's time to kick some butt. Dun, dun. Here we go. Twin magic burst. Or in the virtual world, when Taya used Sage of Stone for Dark Magician Girl to call forth Dark Magician, double dark magic attack. Rock on, Taya. Yeah. And since I just mentioned Taya, I better not hear any trash talking to Taya in the comment section of this video, because if it is, it will be removed. Do not insult Taya. So anyway, so they end up freezing both Yandan and Punibion, and then Yandan explodes into dust after being frozen, sending Punibion flying into the air, and he hits the ground, and it breaks him out of the ice, but he's shivering. And then Hiko picks up Space Bite and Paper Eater, and him and Naomi approach Punibion, and they sort of stand toward him like the way the Avengers were when they were facing Loki after he was defeated. Dun, 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 dun. If it's all the same with you, I think I'll have that drink now. Yeah, I should have thought of that earlier, Loki. So instead, they say Hiko says to Punibion, "Have you had enough, or do you want some more?" So like Anjumon to Myotismon, "Have you had enough, or do you want some more?" after blasting Myotismon with his hand of fate, that I must add obliterated Vantamon and wounded Myotismon terribly. Granted, Anjumon was a champion level Digimon. He obliterated an ultimate and wounded another. That's the power pack there. So anyway, back with this, Punibion says, "You haven't seen the last of me," and he vanishes. You know, typical villain fashion. "I'll get you next time. Next time." Yeah. If you didn't know where that reference was from, it's Inspector Gadget, the claw. So, and a door appears, and Naomi notices Aurora going into it. So she states that this must be the exit. So her and Hiko go through the door. As they go through the door, they see two stone stands. One has a pocket watch on, the other has a fox emblem flute. Both of them with little necklace chains on them. And of course, that watch, and see, we're going to find out that these are destiny items, which is also the same with Sakura's bow. So so you have the flute and the pocket watch. Naomi's like, "Are we supposed to take them?" And Aurora appears saying yes, and Hiko is able to see her now. It's like, "Whoa, who are you?" And Naomi introduces her, says, "That's Aurora, my guardian night fox." And Naomi explains that she imagined her as Aurora as a kid to have someone to talk to when her parents weren't around. Then 2 years ago, she became real, but she didn't tell anybody about her back then, except for her parents. But because Naomi was the only one that could see her, her parents thought that, it was that Aurora was still imaginary, even though she had become real. And Hiko's like, "Well, wow, that's similar to Brownie before now." So which one of us picks up which item? Aurora explains that the flute goes to Naomi, and the watch goes to Hiko, of course. And once they take them, the knowledge of the item's powers will be infused into their minds, which they'll find out about that information when we get into the second story arc there. So they take the items, and once they place them around their necks, the items glow, and next thing you know, Hiko and Naomi vanish. Next, now what I'm about to mention here was actually going to be a scene that was going to be at the end of issue 10, but because of another ending I had for issue 10, I felt that it would be out of place to put this after that, so I moved this scene, what I'm about to read, up to here, and you'll see why when I get to the actual ending that I have. So Ramon shows up in shadow, though you can't really see him clearly. He's going to be hidden in shadow. He approaches the monster turtle, and he says, It appears Punibion has failed again, even though I told him to stay out of the way. I'll let him go for now, and maybe I can make some use of his creation." Then, moments later, Hiko and Naomi are back in Naomi's hospital room. Naomi asks, "Does this mean that everything's going to be back to normal?" Hiko says that it will be for now, and a little more. Naomi's like, "More of what?" And Hiko states, fighting evil monsters, these items, Guardian Night Fox, and, you kissing me earlier? Does that mean we're boyfriend and girlfriend? Naomi smiles, of course, says, "It can," and she states that I've heard my people, I've heard people talk about it, and my parents said that they were boyfriend girlfriend before they decided to marry each other. However, I never fully understood what it means. And she asks Hiko, "Will you help me to understand it?" Ooh. as a crowd as the crowds in a watching a romance movie would go, ooh, aww. So Hiko says, "I would love to. I would love to help you always. And I love you, Naomi Ricky. Thank you so much. And I love you, Hiko Makuro." And the ending is they imagine themselves on the cruise ship as they hug and kiss each other with the sun rising in the sky. Normally, you would see, normally, you hear about the romance with the sunset, watching the sunset. In this case, it's the sunrise because, it's actually in the morning there, so that's why that is. Yep, and the whole thing of them imagining themselves on the cruise ship as they do this. If y'all have seen which I think I mentioned in the other update video, referencing that Titanic fantasy that I put them in on here, the magical voyage. Yep, so that's the ending. That's why originally it was going to be, like in the MCU movies, you have that post-credit scene where Ramon was going to come up, but I moved it up because this ending right here of them on the cruise ship and the sunrise was just so adorable. It would having Ramon show up would kind of be out of place there. So that's how that ends, and there you have your first complete story arc for Yumeko. Yep. So now all I gotta do is go back and get those two 9 and 10 kind of proofed up. I'm also going back through the others, making sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be there before taking it off to before having them proofed. My mom usually proofs a lot of my writings there, so before I have that, I'm looking through them one more time myself, for basically for stories, make sure all the stories are the way I want them. That way they can be in place, and be mostly like, making sure stuff is spelled right and grammar check. Might not even be much of that with me going through them like I'm about to now, but they always say one good thing with story writing, always have another set of eyes look at your stuff. It's nothing wrong with you proofing your work. I mean, when you write a story, you can. You can. I recommend that you proof your stuff, but do not neglect that. Do not neglect having another person proof it, because even with you proofing it, there's going to be something that another person's set of eyes will catch. And see, this is why. Because when you're looking at your stuff, even trying to I'm making sure everything's spelled right and everything. See, part of your mind is set in what that you want on the page. Say I read in a certain section, and Hiko and Naomi kissed each other on the cruise ship. I know in my mind that that's what I intend to be to have put there. So I might look at that and be like, okay, it's right. But somebody else will look at it, see, another person looking at it, they're not going to be in your head. So they're seeing exactly what's on that paper, and what's on that paper might not match what was in your head. See, that's why it's so important to have another proofer. Yeah. You can proof your stuff, but still have another proofer, someone that wasn't in your head when you were thinking of this stuff, and they're just gonna read this as it is on the paper. So that's the whole purpose behind that. It's a really good rule of thumb. Anybody who's writing stories, take note of that. That's what I did. That's what I did in trust, and believe me, it is very necessary because one thing I will admit, first time I started writing, well, not writing, but writing comics, because at one point I was writing novels, just like regular novel, and I had a few pictures here and there, and then when I got Photoshop, I started writing comics. So, and when I was just writing regular worded novels, yeah, I always had to. That was one thing my mom was like, make sure you let me look at that before you get it published. And I kind of had to there because there was a lot more writing in there, so we really had to make sure that was right. But when it got to the comics, what happened was when the first comic series I started writing was Star Striker, just not Star Striker 2000, but just Star Striker, and it was intended to be a comic version of him in Heroes of Dreams, and it was going to be like sort of an MCU kind of setup, where I would also have a comic of Sword Girl, Bubblina, and all that. This was before Christina took over Bubblina and practically made her own universe. This was before that idea. So back then, it was still intended of Bubblina being in Star Trek's universe. So what was happening? I didn't even write a rough draft for the first issue, first 1, 2, and 3. I did not have a rough draft like I did here at all. I was completely going, just writing each word box and speech balloon as it went along. Now, I did have Christina look at each little panel as I was doing the computer somewhat, but there was still some things that were getting missed. And it wasn't completely like oh, everything was off wrong, but you could tell, yeah, you need to have this a little better organized there. So issue 4 came, yeah, then I actually wrote a rough draft, and basically the reason I wrote the rough draft then was because I had an old friend of mine, which he's kind of moved into some other things there. But at one point we were talking about, well, hey Gabe, you can write this stuff and I can illustrate it for you. So that was when I first wrote a rough draft for a comic, because he had to know what to illustrate. And by the time I had wrote it out, yeah, something had come up on both of our ends, where, yeah, we couldn't so the only thing that he did do was just make the cover for the 4th issue. And I had to go back and rewrite issue 4. But from then on, I wrote rough drafts then, before writing the comic. So then my mom was able to go back into making sure, stuff was right. Because see now, and one thing that's easier with the rough draft now, that's even better than the novels, the stuff like with the dialogue, like Naomi says this or Hiko says that, that's the part that I actually put like in the little word balloons or something like that, and maybe a few other things. But a lot of the other stuff, like say describing the attack or something like that, that's basically telling me what to illustrate. So so that's one advantage of that. Even for comic book, you do need a rough draft, yeah. So that was a little bit of a helpful information to give in the video with this. So hope y'all enjoyed that there. Gonna go on and get started. Get that proofed up and make sure everything's right so you can start illustrating it. Also start working on Star Striker 2000. Gonna get a toy review underway in my next video. And also should be having a couple more Royal Talks coming up to finish the Looney Tunes Cinematic Universe, and also something special for Valentine's. So we got quite a bit on our plate for the next couple of weeks there. So make sure you if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, buy some of our comic books, like Star Trek ones I mentioned, and also some of our others, like, you know, Bubblina and Nora and even Brown Chronicles. And also make sure to support us on Patreon. And one thing I want to mention, and I will probably make a reminder video of this. Make sure when you're hearing gonna need some water. When you're hearing these videos, make sure when those ads come up, I know it's kind of tempting to hit skip because, you know, you're like, I just want to get to the video, but try to hear out the ads. Now, I know the hardest one would probably be like the really long ad, because they got some ads that be almost the length of another video. It'd be almost like 10. I've seen some ads that range between 10 to 30 minutes. Now, I kind of can understand maybe you skipping that one. Now, if you have time, because I understand, you know, sometimes you might be listening to these videos or any other video, and maybe you might be in a position where you don't have time to listen, especially those long ads. So, but there are short, but you don't really get too many of those. Most of them are going to be short, like at least under a minute or two. So, just do me a favor, just let the ads play out. That way I can get my monetization, yeah. Especially because that's another way you help support the channel through the monetization. Let them ads play. So, just letting you know that. So yeah, like and subscribe, buy comics, monetization, Patreon. And we'll see you in the next video. And I gotta go get some water because my throat is killing me.